I'm Jennifer Lingle, founder and director of Autism Consulting and Training Incorporated, where I provide families with training and support to improve the quality of life for those affected by autism. And you are on our third video in the Spectrum Connection series of the Connect with Your Child program, and I'm so very excited that you're here today. We are going to talk all about how to get everyone in your family and your community on the same page to improve the quality of life for your child. How does that sound? But before we begin, I really want to thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments that you've been leaving beneath the videos. It's been great to talk with you and to really answer your questions. After all, the Connect with Your Child training program is really about connecting with you and giving you strategies to connect with your child. And I love engaging with you and providing you with these amazing techniques so that you can use these practical strategies at home with your child. So thank you again for joining me. Let's get started with our training video. I'm going to be talking today with you about how to get everyone in your family on the same page. And I'm really excited because I've created a worksheet for you called About My Child. And you will find that below this video. It will say, click here to download your About My Child worksheet. And we're going to review what this worksheet is, and I really want you to fill it out, and I'd love for you to get your team together and share this information so that everybody is on the same page. And just to clarify, when I talk about your team, that is anybody that's involved in your child's life. So that could be therapists, teachers, family members, including the parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts and uncles, babysitters, whoever you have reached out to or that you would like to reach out to provide you and your family with additional support. These are people that you really need to let them know about your child. So that's what this worksheet is all about, and we're going to get into that right now. So I know it is not easy to get everyone on the same page. Everybody has different philosophies, or most people have different philosophies. They have ideas of what they think is best. If it's your parents, your child's grandparents, they think that you came out perfectly, so they must know how to raise a child. And I understand that there are a lot of challenges with getting people on the same page. So I realize that's why it's so difficult, and that's why I've created this video for you to really give you some starter ideas to help get everybody working together, okay? So just understand though, from my years of experience of working with families, I know how challenging it can be to just get the parents on the same page. You know, people are raised differently, and people have different thoughts, and they have different ideas of what's going to work and not going to work. And I do recommend letting these people in your child's life, letting them work on their own strategies, because everybody does have some value to add to your child. However, it is very important that if people are going to use their own strategies and use their own techniques that they have been raised with, that they understand that your child has very specific needs. And it's your job to let these family members and these people within your community that work with your family, to let them know what it is that you are expecting. And that can be really overwhelming and really challenging. And I'm not thinking that it's not going to be an effort and a hard road to get there. But it's so important to get everyone on the same page. Perhaps your child has some sensory needs. All right, we talked a lot about sensory challenges in our last video, but perhaps your child does have some sensory needs. Now, I realize that not every family member or community member understands what sensory needs are. Or maybe somebody in your family has never heard of autism, and your child with autism is their first experience with it. And there is so much information out there. I don't need to tell you that. The internet is just filled with information, and it can be very overwhelming and very depressing depending on what you're reading. So it's important for you to let people know what is specific to your child, because every child with autism is so different. Tell me if this sounds like you. You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed. By the time you explain to somebody else how you want something done for your child, you could have just done it yourself and saved the time. But the end result is you are exhausted and overwhelmed. Does that sound like you? Or maybe you have no time for yourself. You can't even go to the bathroom in peace and quiet because if there is a moment of peace, you're worried that your child has gotten into something. Has this ever happened to you where your child goes to school and you're just waiting for the teacher to call because you're getting so used to these phone calls about his meltdowns in class? You can't even have peace at work because you're waiting for this teacher's phone call, and you are so overwhelmed all of the time. Or perhaps your challenge is that you don't want to impose on others. You want to keep your challenges, and you don't want to reach out and ask for help from anyone because you feel like you're imposing on them. But I'm here to tell you that people really do want to help you. So one of the key steps in allowing somebody to help you and to getting people on your same team is to be very clear about what it is that you're asking them. So are you asking for a helping hand for someone just to come into your home while you're there so that you can have a moment to yourself? Are you asking them to maybe the next time they're in the grocery store pick up some extra food for you? Are you asking them to take your child out on an excursion one afternoon? Whatever it is, you need to be very clear in your mind about what it is that you're asking so that you know specifically what it is that you want to communicate to somebody else. So having clear expectations is key. Now, I talked about this a moment ago, but it's also really important to be open to how other people handle situations. Now, you want to be clear about specific things, and we're going to talk about that in the About My Child worksheet, but it's important to let people experience things how they experience them. Let people's expertise and their philosophies, let them do their thing as long as they are not harming your child, and as long as they are following your expectations and guidelines, let them meet those using their creative justice. Everybody has something to add in their own unique way. So it's important to just be open to how other people might handle a situation while still giving them some guidelines as to what you're expecting with your child. Okay, but if they do things a little bit differently, try not to get bent out of shape over it because they are a different person, or he or she is a different person, and he or she handles things differently than you do. And that's okay. It's really important for you to provide information on autism to whomever it is that you want involved in your child's world. There is so much information out there on autism, it's important to hone in on what is specific to your child. So whether or not that be that you go to a website that is filled with autism information and you highlight and paste the things that pertain to your child to pass out to other people, or you find some excerpts in a book that pertain to your child, or you write something yourself. The important thing is to spread the information about autism, educate others. It's important for you to be available to answer any questions that they may have, and there will be a lot of questions. So opening up the floor and creating a space where you are comfortable answering questions, people are comfortable asking you questions, that's very important when it comes to everyone working together to be on the same team. I want to start talking to you now about the About My Child worksheet, which you can get by printing on the PDF below this video. And this document is going to be wonderful to help get people on the same page. And it's also a wonderful instrument to use in case of an emergency. So I suggest that you put your child's picture, a very cute, precious picture, but one that really looks like him or her, on this document so that in an emergency, in case of an emergency, you have this information about your child so that you can pass it along to other people. The first thing that you want to talk about are sensory challenges. What kinds of things trigger sensory reactions? Is your child sensitive to sounds? Is he sensitive to certain tastes, smells? Do certain things bother him when he visually sees them? It's important to become clear on what these sensory challenges are, all right? And what kind of solutions do you have for these sensory challenges? If your child is a sensory seeker, we talked about this in the last video, what kind of alternatives can you give your child so he doesn't walk up and squeeze somebody? So write down all of these things that pertain to sensory issues. The second thing on your list is talking about behavioral triggers. What sets your child off? When your child is told no, does he have a huge meltdown? Do we need to possibly avoid that word no and think of other words instead? Or when your child hears a crying baby, which is also a sensory challenge, does that set your child off? So some of these things can overlap and that's totally fine. But it's important to be clear about what behavioral triggers your child has. Next up on our list would be behavioral strategies. What strategies do you use when your child does have a tantrum or he hits somebody? What are the rules that you have in place? What are the consequences when a rule is broken? Do you have him go to an area to calm down? If you do, that's important for somebody else to know that when he has a meltdown, if you just say to him, do you need a break to calm down? You can give him that space and he'll calm down. Those are things that you really do want to share. All right, number 4 on your list is talking about food sensitivities. So, and food allergies. So is your child allergic to any foods? Do certain foods set his behavior over the hills? For example, I have worked with a child that is so sensitive to gluten that if he has one piece of food that has gluten in it, he will be up all night. And these are important things. And I know that sensitivities really come around when it has to do with food. And I don't mean the child sensitivities, I mean family. I understand that some grandparents or some friends of the family want to take your child out for ice cream and you tell them time and time again, please don't, he's going to be up all night, but they're like, well, let's just see what happens, and they do it anyway. And I understand how frustrating that can be, because then your child is up all night in your home, and it's not just all night, his behavior is affected for days after. It is so important to do what you can to let people know what you expect. There's only so much that you can do, and I realize that, but having everything clearly written down is a step in the right direction. Number 5 on our list is visual tools. We've talked about visual tools in depth on our last video, but I want to talk a little bit more about that here. If you have any visual strategies that you use with your child, be sure to share that information with others. If your child uses a communication book, please be sure to share that information with other people. We don't want to leave your child's communication book somewhere else if he needs it to make a request like using the bathroom. If visual tools are used, like a visual schedule to help him understand what's coming up next in his day, be sure to share that information with other people as well. Last and certainly not least on our list, we're going to talk about reinforcers. So what does your child like to do? What reinforces positive behavior? Does he like bubbles? Does she like stickers? Does he like to play with trains and trucks? Does she like to listen to music? Whatever it may be that reinforces positive behavior, share that information with others. Perhaps your child really responds well to verbal positive reinforcement, being told, hey, great job, or getting a high five, something like that. Let others know so that they can share in this wonderful experience with your child. This worksheet is meant to be used as a starting point. There are many other important avenues that you need to go down to really get a good picture of your child so that you can share it with others, including bedtime and potty time, homework time, dinner time, all the major transitions throughout your day. It's important for you to discuss those and have that information available on your About My Child worksheet. The hope is that as you fill out this information, more things are going to become clear to you so that you know exactly what you want to discuss with people on your child's team. I wanted you to have this information before our Connect with Your Child webinar so that you were very clear on some very important areas in your child's life. Now remember, at the end of the webinar, you will be able to raise your hand so I can answer your questions, and I'm really looking forward to finding solutions to some of your challenges. Most importantly, I'm going to be walking you through the steps of creating a calmer home environment, and I'm going to be teaching you how to better connect with your child on the autism spectrum. So here's what I want for you to do. In the comments below, I would love to hear what your vision is for connecting with your child. What are your challenge areas? What do you need the most support on when it comes to this connection piece? I look forward to talking with you in our webinar coming up on April 22nd, 2013 at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to write down that date and time in your calendar. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day. You ready to be on camera? You want to be on camera? You want to teach all the families about autism? Everything you know. Okay, ready? Go. What do you know about autism?
You don't feel...
Oh, la 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 la